And now, please welcome to the stage, from American Express Global Business Travel, Cybersecurity Manager Chris Talbott and Cybersecurity Engineer Adam McLaughlin.
Yes, please clap for us. Thank you. It helps our souls.
We need it.
Afternoon, CriblCon. How's everybody doing? Look on the bright side. You're one step closer to happy hour. So, all right, we'll try to make this as quick and as hopefully painless to the point, but no promises. And there will be a quiz after, so pay attention, please. As the lovely gentleman in the back said, my name is Chris Talbott. I'm a cybersecurity manager. Been in the industry for about 25 years, about as long as he's been alive.
He's old.
But started off working as a database admin for Autodesk of all places, went to the military, started working on Obamacare. Don't ask me questions on that one, please. That was a nightmare and a half. Then jumped over to financial, and then now travel industry. Adam?
My name is Adam McLaughlin. I'll be in InfoSec for about 4 years as of next month. I started out in the SOC and part of incident response team, and then Chris eventually poached me over to the engineering side of things, and he's still regretting it.
No, I'm not.
Oh, he's being generous. Anyways, I love long walks on the beach, but it's kind of a problem for me because I do live in the middle of a desert. Anyways, we have a couple slides to go through here, so we'll get started.
Yep. All right, so the main topic here at hand, we're going to be talking about parallel SIEM testing using Cribl Stream.
So Cribl Stream did play a very pivotal role in achieving a couple goals for us, right? So we were testing multiple SIEMs concurrently, right, to make sure we were picking the right one for our hopefully future-proof SIEM. And thanks to Cribl's flexible pipelines, it expedited our selection process. And we did all of this without impacting our current existing SIEM.
Having the availability of pushing data to one source, i.e. Cribl Stream, and then in turn adjusting that and putting it to multiple SIEMs saved us not only time, but also man hours and a lot of pain because everyone loves building parsers. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
One of the big pieces of all this is the data reduction that we got and also the capacity of that data reduction and what it gave us in our existing plus our new SIEM. The ability to take, an example, firewall logs, which everyone knows are bloated to God knows how much, and then in turn reduce that, put that into a new SIEM and see, based off the data reduction, okay, now we can start importing the other things that, compliance or GRC has been hounding us saying, hey, why aren't you logging that? Well, now I can because I have the bandwidth to do so.
So then, once our new SIEM had been chosen, right, through a long, convoluted process, Cribl Stream, streamlined and facilitated a seamless migration to the new solution with, again, not interrupting our current data flows to our existing SIEM, right? And it really it resulted in a very smooth transition.
All right, again, the main thing that we're going to be talking about here is the ability to pivot to multiple SIEMs during a POC using Cribl Stream and the ease of use it was compared to building parsers manually for each individual POC. Mind you, we did four different SIEMs during this process. And the main agenda here, took me 8 slides to get here, but who's counting? So single pane, pipelines, integrations, tagging, replay, and reductions. Single pane of glass, simplicity.
Yeah, Adam is simple, so Adam needs simple. And with Cribl Stream, we finally have a single pane of glass where we can see and monitor all of our incoming data sources, right? And then we can monitor them as they traverse through the Cribl platform, from our pipelines to our routes, and then ultimately our destinations, right? Everybody loves a single pane, right? We don't love pivoting to multiple tools to have to get the same data. It's awfully convenient to have it all in one place.
Yeah, having, it's an overused term in the industry because lots of companies say, oh, we have a single pane of this, a single pane of that. But in this particular instance, it actually made sense. Instead of looking at 4 different SIEMs, parsing it 4 different times, figuring out which format it needs to go in, like they mentioned earlier today in the keynote, Cribl doesn't care about the format. You can send it whatever you want, it'll take it and push it out. Pipelines. I'm sorry, but every time I see a pipe, I grew up in the 80s, I think of Mario, so, That's just me.
It's
a me, Mario.
Such a nerd. So with pipelines, pipelines are all about really streamlining. So with pipelines, it really gave us the ability to tailor and format the data for whatever SIEM we were testing at the time. Every SIEM expects data in a different format. It's not all totally normalized, unfortunately. But with the pipelines, we were able to do that pretty easily, right? So we have our one source, and we have different pipelines for it that reformat the data in whatever format we needed, and then we can just ship it off, and it was quite simple.
Yeah, the ability to use the packs pre-designed for the various different SIEMs we were testing saved a lot of time and a lot of effort, and again, streamlined what would have been a multi-month, if not multi-quarter process for us. Integrations. Everyone touts integrations, but one thing we can say about Cribl, it is basically one tool to ingest them all, and the goat thing disappeared. I guess we can't find the goat no more, but.
Yes, and by the way, it does say some.
I can't read, you know that, I'm old. Go ahead.
So anyways, so one tool to ingest them all, right? We all work in technology. We know we have so many applications and tools at our disposal, and frankly, it's probably overkill for the majority of us here. We probably don't need that many. But regardless, the ultimate end goal is to be able to ingest the data from those tools right into our downstream system, so then we can build alerts, monitoring capabilities, and get it to the people who need it. And where Cribl really shines with this is they offer a number of different ways to ingest data from these tools, right? So you're not limited to a single way of doing anything really. There are more than likely going to be multiple ways of doing it. And keep in mind, like what we talked about earlier, right? When you're bringing these data sources in, you can track them through the entire platform, from the moment you're ingesting, through your pipelines and routes, to the destination, right? And you can know exactly where your logs end up, so it just makes it awfully convenient.
Yeah, having the multiple integrations, again, can keep reiterating the same thing. Saving time, saving effort, saving energy, allowed us to go through this entire thing a lot quicker than what it normally would have been. Using the data packs, kind of caveat back on the last slide, I'm not going to say I'm smarter than the data scientists that Clint hired, air quotes, but we were able to take that as pretty much like a baseline and the building block, so to speak, and then in turn build from that and build more integrations and more reductions based off of what we actually wanted to see from the actual packs. Tagging. Sometimes we don't know who we are. Who are you?
I'm Adam. You're Chris.
Okay, good. We got that settled. Go ahead.
So tagging is a super neat feature that Cribl offers, and we utilized it heavily throughout our deployment. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of different use cases, and I could be here all day talking about them, but we're not going to do that because we have a happy hour to go to, and I'm sure you don't want to talk to us or listen to us blabber for the foreseeable future. So we'll just touch on a couple here. The first one is being able to identify your logs with ease wherever they end up, right? So whether that's in your downstream system in like your SIEM, if you're setting tags up at the source level in Cribl, right, you can easily just search for that tag downstream, right? So it really facilitates and makes the process of identifying those logs easy. It can also help with troubleshooting. So if, for example, you're modifying a pipeline, and you're going to affect some certain, we'll say sample of logs, right? You can tag those logs in your pipeline and then be able to, again, quickly identify them in the downstream system and see if they're making it there or how they look, right? So there's a number of different use cases, and really I can't emphasize it enough. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, again, to caveat on that, being able to tag and know where the log started, where it ended, and especially if there is a log that errors out. And unfortunately, I don't see him in the audience, but y'all have probably seen the gentleman walking around in the cowboy hat and boots. He is not from Texas. He is from Ottawa, Canada, so I don't know what that's all about. Yeah. So for now on, we're just going to say, Mike, if you have an error, we name it Mike. Mike is the error, because we don't understand that.
Yeah, so if you see him out there, big white cowboy hat, give him grief for not being here, because he said he would.
Yes, he lied. Bad Mike.
Love you guys.
Oh, you're
Is
in the
he out
back.
there?
You're hiding.
Oh, he's hiding in the way back.
Don't look. Nobody cares. Anyway, moving on. Oh, wait. My bad. We need to rewind that, please. Thank you very much. Oh, you went back too far. Too far. There we go. Replay. I was trying to do a Be Kind Rewind joke. It failed miserably. For those of you that grew up in the 90s, you know that reference. If not, shame on you. Anyway, go ahead.
So again, with replay, you guys have heard about it. You probably use it today, right? It's a super neat feature that Cribl has once again. So with our pipelines, we're making modifications to logs, right? So we're modifying them, and that's not necessarily ideal if you need to bring them back through. So one thing we do is we send a full fidelity log, right, to S3, data lake, whatever you want to use for long-term storage, right? And then with replay, you can essentially pull that data back into your platform. So we all know SIEM pricing can be expensive, so your data retention may not be, let's say 400 days or maybe just 30 days. Right? And let's say you have an incident pop up and you need that log from the 31-day mark. Well, you can just use replay to search for those logs that you need, re-ingest them through the platform. They'll go all the way back through Cribl, right? And then back into your SIEM or whatever downstream system for an additional retention period, right? So there's a lot of different use cases. That one seems to stuck out to us. And yeah, again, we can't say enough good things about it.
Another one that sticks out to us, which I'm pretty sure almost everybody in this room has had to deal with, the all lovely incident, and then going back and trying to figure out exactly what happened. Having replay and having that full fidelity log on hold, for lack of a better word, being able to go back and re-ingest that and pull that back into your pipeline is a tremendous help. And it's something very unique to Cribl.
Right.
Mike, where's my goats? There's supposed to be goats here. Where's my goats?
There's specifically one that had no color. Thank you. Yeah, there was one that had no color and then one that had a lot of color. It was awesome. Y'all would have loved it, but it didn't make the final cut. Thanks, Mike.
I'm blaming the honey badger. Anyway, moving on. It's pretty picture time. So everyone loves reductions. That's one of the main selling points behind Cribl. You can take data, put it in, it goes in, making up a number here, goes in at 10 terabytes, it comes out at 4 terabytes. Big exaggeration, but it's an exaggeration. The main purpose behind it is, especially when we're doing a multi-SIEM POC, we want to be able to determine what end result do we get in that particular SIEM. How much value are we getting from that data? What is being stripped out in SIEM A versus what is in SIEM B? In this case, SIEM A and SIEM B is CrowdStrike / large scale. As you can see, there is a difference in reduction between the two, and Adam can actually go into a little bit more detail as far as the why.
Right, so there could be a couple of different reasons why you might see, the different reduction across SIEM A versus SIEM 2 CrowdStrike, right? Like I said, it could be that a particular SIEM might offer additional capabilities with those logs. So you want more of them, right? Or if they have some pre-built stuff like dashboards, alerts, and they require certain fields that you may have otherwise stripped for a different SIEM because you serve no purpose, that could be one of the main reasons. Otherwise, it could be the format the SIEM is expecting it in. So if it's expecting it in one particular format versus your other SIEM that's expecting it in a different one, that can also have an effect. But I mean, the stats speak for themselves. Regardless, with just simple modifications like removing blank null values, right? Really tailoring your data and working with your teams to decide what fields you actually need to see, you can get some very quick reduction capabilities.
Touching back to firewalls, as I mentioned earlier, as we all know, firewalls, whether that be Cisco, Juniper, Palo Alto, Zscaler, firewalls logs are bloated. Everyone knows this. There's all kinds of data in there that is unique to firewall A or firewall B. Do we actually need it? Do we actually use it? Not really. We want the threat data. We want the login data. We want the IP data, the destination. We don't need all the erroneous, for lack of a better word, crap. That's what Cribl weeds out. As you can see on this slide, 82% for SIEM 1 and then 42% for CrowdStrike log scale. Again, every single SIEM looks at data differently, so thus the parsers and the packs that are pre-built within Cribl weed out what is needed and not needed accordingly. And back to my data scientist comment earlier, please don't shoot me, Clint. I'm just saying that as security people, we want to take that as a baseline and then in turn modify that to fit our needs in the long run. Because we may actually say, we actually want that piece of data, or no, we don't need that. That's irrelevant to us.
Yep, Exactly. So that's where it's very important to work with your teams, right, and come up with, have come to a common ground on what specific data you want to see in your downstream systems, right? What fields do we need to see? What fields don't we need to see, right? Because ultimately it all leads up to more reduction, right, which means you have more space and you can then pipe more data in, right? Because we're not slowing down on data, right? It's growing exponentially. So the more we can reduce, the better.
All right, to recap, that says 2, not 4, Mike. Bad mic. Okay. So reduction, on average about 82%. I know we talked about the firewalls, but we did also test this not on just firewalls and WAF. There was a vast many sources, everything from our EDR to Active Directory to cloud logs, whether that be AWS and or Azure logs that we had putting into this. Just various different data sources, all trying to determine what is the best SIEM to fix our need. Whether that be a decision you had a few years ago, you found a SIEM where it gives you 400 days hot, and that's amazing, and you like that. But now things have changed, and you want to move on to something that's a little bit maybe more elastic and more cloud-based and can grow with you. So using Cribl as a baseline to say, okay, all my logs are already going in the Cribl. Let me send it to SIEM 1, SIEM 2, SIEM 3. Which one gives me the best results? Which one has the built-in functionality, the dashboards, the queries? What query language is simple? Do I have to retrain my entire team on another query language? Or is it somewhat natural? Who would have thought? Not everybody wants to learn Splunk. No digs on Splunk, just saying.
Yeah, and I mean, like Chris said, Cribl really makes troubleshooting SIEM problems quite easy too, or rather the parsers specifically. So when it comes to tailoring your data to the format that the SIEM is expecting in, you don't have to sit and try to come up with multiple different solutions for what your SIEM may or may not support. It's where Cribl Stream really thrives. And if you're testing a new source out, right, you can build out as many routes as you really need and tailor it in different ways, and also send it through your test functionality to the downstream system and see how the SIEM is going to receive it. So you have a lot of options without actually impacting any of your current sources. It makes it very convenient. And like I mentioned on the last slide here, getting further reduction with Cribl Stream makes it so you can free up more space in whatever system you're sending it to. So if that's your SIEM, you can start piping in more data, get more visibility, right? And everybody's happier at the end of the day.
Timeline. So started our journey back in July of last year, and we officially purchased Cribl back in February this year. Yes, that is a very long timeline, and that was not solely because of Cribl. Everyone knows anytime that you start looking at POCs and looking at different environments and different tools, there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, bureaucratic red tape you got to cut through in order to even start said POC. With that portion out of the way, if Cribl was not in this process, this would have been close to a year.
Yeah, easily, if not maybe 2, right, for the amount of SIEMs that we were looking at. There was no real easy process when it comes to doing this. So we were very thankful that Cribl came in and saved us when they did.
Yeah, we can honestly say that Cribl was the easy button for this scenario.
Yeah.
Now comes the part where either we stare at you or you stare at us and we wait on questions. Go.
We're good with either. Suit yourselves, I will ask questions. Wait.
Yay, question.
Hi, what was your SIEM evaluation process? And I'm assuming you went with CrowdStrike. What was the trigger that made that decision?
So I could touch on that one. I'm not going to go through the whole process because it's lengthy and frankly, we'd be here for a while. But we reached out to a lot of our teams and asked what they wanted to see in a SIEM, right? Because we had a lot of limitations in our current one. So, the most important thing is, does it work, right? Can we send third-party data to it? Can it ingest that, right? What integrations does it have out of the box? What kind of pre-built functionality do they have, right? And what really attracted, me specifically to CrowdStrike's log scale, I want to be very clear, this is log scale we're talking about here, is the fact that it is kind of like a build it yourself. kind of thing. And it was very easy to get data in, because as you guys may already know, CrowdStrike has a built-in integration with LogScale. So when it comes to setting up a brand new source, you can do it within 5 minutes. 5 minutes and a handful of clicks, you have a new source getting piped over to LogScale. So again, it was just the convenience of it, rather than having to deal, through. I apologize if there's any SIEM vendors, but existing like SIEM integrations and the way you traditionally get data into it, it isn't always the most user friendly, right? Versus where those two just seem to work together very well. So that's ultimately why.
That plus, for those of you not familiar with LogScale, previously known as Humio, the back-end search engine behind it is very powerful and very fast. For us, on average, we could send that same 4 terabyte firewall log in there, do a query against that, and get a result in 5-6 seconds, if that. And being able to action and then in turn take that data and build a dashboard out of it and have a reliable information.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all know, right? We all work with SIEMs, or maybe some of us do, right? How many times do you have to go, you're searching for something, you write a query, and it's running, and it's running, it's running.
You go get coffee, you come back, maybe it erred, you have to try it again.
And then you just give up, So with LogScale, we had a lot of success, and we didn't really see that issue.
Yeah.
So that alone was major brownie points.
One other thing to add on to that, one of the main things we were looking for to go to from a new SIEM perspective from our old one was we wanted something that was fast. We wanted something that had built-in out of the box queries that was easy to integrate with our existing infrastructure. We already had CrowdStrike from an endpoint perspective, so getting FDR data was a no-brainer for us from that scenario. Some of the other SIEMs we looked at would require us to go away from CrowdStrike as an example and put a whole other EDR solution in, or put yet another agent out there. Our infrastructure guys love that aspect.
Who doesn't want more agents, right?
Yeah.
You guys love them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind you, we still have to put the Cribl Edge agent out there, but we love you,
We
Cribl.
like that one. Yeah.
All right.
What was the most challenging situation you faced during the POC or during the POC?
I can say because we were actually actively testing 4 different SIEM providers at once, it was trying to replicate the same use case scenario across all 4 to where it could actually make sense. Being able to try to get as close to the same answer on each. In some situations, it wasn't possible because maybe SIEM 2 didn't have that functionality, so that was an instant ding on them, but SIEM 3 and 4 did. So we started making a tracking matrix as far as, okay, this is the list of everything we want to test, which one of these can do it, which one of them can't, and the more times that people hit the can't field, they got kicked off the POC, and we started focusing on the rest until we whittled it down to LogScale.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really just that trial and error. There's specific criteria for all of them. Can they do it? Which one did the best? And check the most flags for us, really. Okay.
I've never seen these guys before. I've actually worked with them quite a bit, but here's some questions that I might not know the answers to. Of the optimizations, reductions that you're achieving, which ones would you say are the most impactful, like aggregations, transformation, or dropping? And then my next question is, with a replay, what's your opinion of the replay versus Cribl search, if you guys have looked at that?
I'll take the reduction one, you can take the other one.
You'll take the which one?
I'll take the reduction one, the first part of it.
Okay.
So
it's hard to hear other people up here. I don't know if you
do
guys
I need
know
to
that.
stand close to you and talk in your ear?
My ears are bad.
Okay, there you go. Anyway, so from a reduction standpoint, kind of like I touched base during the actual conversation, firewall logs. That's, for the longest, we did not ingest our firewall traffic logs just because of the amount of data and information that it was. We were limited by our current ingest rate with our current SIEM, just because that's what we were contracted for. We could always go over and then pay the penalty later, but we didn't want to do that. So when we started doing this POC process, we was like, okay, let's take our traffic data and put it into Cribl, get that reduction, and see exactly the log data that came out of it. Without going into a lot of details, there was an issue that did occur, which resulted in a network outage. We were unaware of what was happening until after the fact. Once we were able to get back into Cribl and look at the history, because of that traffic log data and how it was parsed out and how it was in log scale, we were able to pinpoint and see the exact cause of that outage, track it back to the user that implemented that change, and the time frame. All because we weren't ingesting firewall traffic logs. Mind you, that's 4.5 terabytes a day, which is a massive cost associated with that. A little bit less, thank you, Cribl, but still a cost. Yeah. So if you can ingest things that you were normally outside of your realm of possibility, with Cribl you can now, at a reduced rate, provided your sales rep is good to you. Thank you, Marlo.
Yeah. So yeah, and just to follow up on that briefly, so just to give you guys some scope here, right? What may have taken an hour or two to identify the overall cause, right? When we went back and did like an after action, identifying what the exact source was, we took it to that team that had identified the error, and instead of taking them an hour or two to identify it, we showed them what we had, and they told us that they would have been able to find it within 15 minutes, all because we were able to bring that data in. So,
and now they have a dashboard and log scale that shows them the exact same information on a consistent basis.
Exactly. And then for the second part of that question, so replay versus search. So I really don't have a good solid answer for this, because when it comes to replay is really, we touched on it big, right? Because we all have audit requirements, right? When audit season comes up, we need to replay that data, right? If your retention period isn't by default like a year, for example, right? So replay comes in handy for that. We can re-ingest the data and send it right back through the SIEM and get that additional retention. When it comes to search, the only time I actually really utilize search, which to be fair, I definitely underutilize it, is if I need something super quick and easy. It's just not something I've really targeted so far, but after learning some more stuff today, I'm definitely gonna have to use it more, yeah.
Anybody else, or we're gonna continue to stare at each other? Because I can do this. He said I can.
What?
Huh?
What's your favorite color?
What?
What's your favorite color?
Blue. What's yours?
Blue.
Oh, okay. We sold that. Audience? Bueller?
Yeah, everyone's trying to go to happy
somebody's
hour.
walking. Yay.
Oh, there we go.
I get excited over the small things. Don't mind me.
Save you from the questions. So, assuming your shop is very similar to mine, you probably have guys who have expertise in a certain SIEM or the other. Did this process highlight that? And did Cribl, this change that you made, did it help or hurt those folks who may have been more, leaning in one direction or the other prior to your change? And then once you made that change, how did it affect their daily operations?
So I'm going to take a few points on that. One, I got to give shout outs to Adam here, because he is basically my sole SIEM guy for the entire company. We're in the process of training a new engineer as a backup, but he inherited the entire SIEM project from an engineer who was basically just filling a seat and not really doing his job. So he stepped up as an analyst and became the engineer, and now runs the entire SIEM piece. So from him, he had a logarithm background, and also our current SIEM, which is, what query language is that in again?
What current SIEM are we using?
Yeah, no, the query language that it's in.
Oh, for logarithm?
No, the other one. Devo.
Oh, they call it LinQ or Link, however you want to prefer.
LinQ or Link.
However you prefer to say it. It really, everyone would say something different, just like SIEM. It's all confusing. Who cares, really, right?
So to kind of go back to your question, for us, it really wasn't that much of an issue because he was our sole SIEM engineer. But for someone who has a pre-established team that has either lived in Splunk or lived in Logarithm or anyone, or even QRadar as an example, switching over to these various different SIEMs, it's a little bit easier, again, because of Cribl. Because Cribl doesn't care what source you send to it. It doesn't matter if it's JSON, if it's syslog, if it's heck, it doesn't care. It already has the built-in packs, the built-in parsers to take it and normalize it, and then you just say, you go here, and you sit back and you look at the dashboards.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, regardless, Cribl makes it so much easier to get data into a SIEM. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about it. It really takes a lot of the headache out of, if your current solution doesn't offer an out-of-the-box integration or an easy way to get the data in, more than likely, Cribl does, which is exactly what we have found, right? So and being a sole SIEM engineer, right, I don't have a lot of time most of the time. So having that process sped up for me, and it just makes it so much better. It's really a big time saver, and it frees me up for other things. So, yeah. Did we answer your question well enough? I forgot where'd you go? Good. Okay. Good.
Cool. Anybody else?
Is that the goat the honey badger ate?
Mm-hmm. Or is that my cue to run off stage and follow the goat? I don't know. I'm so confused right now. Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone's ready for happy hour.
Thank you.
Okay.